le plus qui change, le plus que c'est la même chose. The more things change, the more we realize that they're really the same thing. Transmutating across time. So when you bring presence to your awareness, your present state, the thought content, the experiential content, you raise your awareness level. Mentation slows or stops, and you have a meta-awareness. Or if you're thinking, you're able to observe that thinking process. You're able to extract yourself and have a perspectival view of what's happening. Northrop says somewhere that the whole Western mind is trying to find out the theoretical component of existence and the causal chain link of how things happened. But the Eastern mind takes a different approach. Northrop says it's a different adventure. It's an aesthetic component of reality that's not theoretical. It's purely aesthetic. And the Eastern mind has not been involved with the search to know and manipulate nature, as it's been interested more in how to be one with nature, not how to conquer and overcome nature, but how to be in a deep friendship and a participation with it. The Western mind is a conflict, it's a struggle. The Eastern mind is more of a mystique and a love relationship. And I don't know, Osho says, if Northrop will agree with me or not, but he interjects that my feeling is that science is a way of hatred, a relationship of hatred with nature, hence struggle, fight, conquering, in the language of victory. Religion is a love relationship, he says, no conflict, no struggle. In another way, science is a male attitude and religion is a female attitude. So he talks about Tantra. Tantra is Eastern. It's a way of participating with reality. It's a way to be one with dissolving boundaries, how to move into an undifferentiated realm. Mind differentiates. The mind creates boundaries. It creates definitions, concepts, because the mind works with those definitions, with boundaries. And the more clear-cut the boundaries, the better the possibility of the mind has to work. So the mind cuts, divides, it chops everything. But religion, on the other hand, is focused on dissolving boundaries. So says he. I don't completely agree. Idealistically, that's what it does. So he says one of the techniques is to be that. By the way, this is a very thick book I'm reading from Osho, so a lot of what he says I'm trying to distill for you because I've tried reading it word for word and it's too much and too repetitive. So the first thing is to be aware of that which is never changing in you, i.e. that undifferentiated awareness. Be the same, be the unsame to friend as to a stranger, in honor and dishonor. You feel centered in chaos. You can say to your childhood, you can say to your present, now what remains? Who is this me? Who is this my? What is this I? But really, nothing about you is the same as you were when you're a child. Physically speaking, you're completely different. Every cell in your body is fully turned over, say about every 7 years. Physiologists say that the blood is in flux even. It's a river. Cells are dying and new ones are born. It's called necrosis. Cell death. Programmed cell death. Within 7 years, your body will have changed completely. Yeah, that's what he says. When someone would come to meet a Buddha, for example, the person would depart, take leave, and the Buddha would say, remember, the man who has come to meet me is not the man who is going back. You are different now. Your mind is changed. The Buddha is bound to change your mind for better or for worse, but you cannot be just the same. You came here with a different mind, and you'll go with a different mind. Something's been added or deleted. Heraclitus said, you cannot step twice in the same river. and you cannot meet the same man again. It's impossible. And because of this fact, because of our ignorance, we live in a mystery, because you go on expecting the other to be the same. And then a lot of stuff. Non-changing. You can be so engrossed, so obsessed with the changing world, with your body, with your mind, that you completely forget the center, the meditative aspect. The center is so much clouded by the changing flux that there's problems. We see problems as problems, rather than seeing problems as opportunities for solutions. That which is constantly the same is difficult to remember, because change creates problems. And likewise, an aspect of the mind is that it notices change. It doesn't notice sameness. If you're going the same speed in a moving body, it feels like you're stationary. There's no acceleration moving forward or back. It's only when the velocity changes that you feel. Or the volume of music. You lose the sense of music in the background if it stays at the same volume. But if you're changing something about the volume, that's when you notice it. We notice what changes. Honor and dishonor. Honor. Okay. He's talking about Shankara. Shankara says, I call the man a sannyasin who knows what is changing and what is non-changing, who knows what is moving and what is non-moving. This, in Indian philosophy, is known as vivek, which is the discriminative mind ability. To discriminate between these two, the realm of the change and the realm of the unchanging, this is called vivek, discrimination. And it's helpful in whatever you're doing, because remember that there's two realms. Let's say you're hungry. Hunger can only be felt in the periphery because the periphery needs food. You don't need food. You don't need any fuel, but the body needs it. You don't need it. The body needs it. Remember, when hunger happens, it's happening to the periphery. You are the recognizer of that. If you were not there, it would not be known. If the body was not there, it wouldn't happen. By your absence, only knowledge will be there, because the body cannot know. The body can have it, but it cannot know it. You know it, you cannot have it. So remember that everything changes, he said. In the state, so what he's trying to say is you need to find a separation between who you are as an entity of awareness and your body and your mind. This is very similar to what Sadhguru, Jaggi Vasudev says about his meditative practice, is that you have a separation between your body and your mind, because that creates a sense of spaciousness. That is meditation. So in this state, there is nothing to be known. The knowledge is different. This type of knowledge is a special kind of knowledge, agnosia, from where we get our word agnostic. It's misleading, though, because the mystics said that this self-knowledge, let's say, it's a special kind of knowledge, not knowledge about the world, knowledge about facts, knowledge about history. It's self-knowledge. Knowledge is always of the other, and these mystics said self-knowledge is not possible. But when the other is not, you may call it self-knowledge, but it's misleading. So whatsoever you know is change. Everything you know is change. Everywhere. The walls, the pixels on the screen, they're constantly changing. Now physics supports this. Even the wall, which looks stationary, is changing every moment, a great flux. The atom is moving. So we say it's moving at such a rate that it's impermeable, i.e. it seems solid. But if we dramatically slow down its rate, or perhaps dramatically sped up its rate, it would disappear. Or if we slow down its rate, it would not seem solid anymore. Just like a fan, if the fan's moving fast enough, it feels like you're hitting something very solid, and it looks solid, or the spin of a wheel. But at a different frequency, if you've ever been driving in a car, see, it almost looks like the wheel isn't moving, even though it's moving indeed very fast. So this is showing that our senses don't have an accurate representation of reality. This is part of what René Descartes found, philosophically speaking, that why should I believe my senses if it be that they've fooled me even once, why should I trust these senses? So this is the great flux. It looks the same, but it's not, because your eyes are simply incapable of detecting much types of movements and much types of waves on the electromagnetic spectrum. So in the sutras it says everything changes. Here is the sphere of change, such that everything is in flux, everything is changing, everything is non-permanent, and that you have to know this. And Buddha's emphasis is that he says, change, 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 remember. Why? If you can remember change, detachment happens. You can be attached. How can you be attached when everything is changing? What is there to attach to? Because it's going to change. So when you recognize this, you may still feel that sense of attachment. But when you recognize that there's nothing truly that can be attached to, even though your mentation, your sense feels like that, once you recognize that as illusory, the Buddhist mystics call it phantasmagoria. Once you recognize its false existence, its illusory nature, then detachment happens of itself. A moment in the mind flashed to the Buddha where he said, "The child is 1 day old, a few hours old. I have a look." What is the use, we said, because everything is changing. The day the child is born, the next day the child could die. 1 day before he was not here. Now he is. And 1 day again he will not be again. So what is the use? Everything is changing. And he left and turned back. Through change, consume change. Buddha never said the second part. The second part is tantric. Buddha says everything is change and you feel it and you won't cling to it. When you don't cling to it, by and by, leaving everything that changes, you will fall into yourself to the center where there is no change. When you go on eliminating change, you will come to the unmoving, to the center of the wheel. This is the big wheel that you'll see, the spinning wheel in Buddhism. This is why Buddha has chosen the wheel as a symbol of his religion, because the wheel moves, but the center on which it moves remains unmoving. So the samsara, the world, moves like the wheel. But when you come to the center, the unmoving part of the wheel, that is the meditative state. That is, as Terence McKenna called it, the transcendental object at the end of time. Buddha will say that life is change. And change consumes the change. The Ouroboros, the snake in a circle pattern, eating its own tail. So he goes on to say that there's two types of person. I'm going to wrap up at about 15 minutes. One type is the person who cannot allow the world to be as it is. And these are called the revolutionaries. And they will change it. The revolutionaries. And they will struggle to change it. They will destroy perhaps their whole life in changing it. And it's already changing. He says they're not needed. They will only consume themselves. They will burn out in changing the world, and it's already changing. No revolution is needed. The world is a revolution. It is change. And you may wonder, he uses India as an example, why it has not created great revolutionaries. It's because of the insight that everything is already changing. One type of personality, what about Gandhi? One type of personality always tries to change the world. In religion's eyes, this type of person is neurotic. Really, he's afraid of coming to himself. So he goes on becoming obsessed with the world. The state has to be changed. The government has to be changed. The society, the structure, the economics, everything has to be changed. And he will die, and he will never have a moment of ecstasy in which he could know what he really was. And the world would continue, and the wheel will go on moving. It's seen many revolutionaries, and it goes on moving. Neither can you stop it nor accelerate the change. That is the mystic's attitude. The way I say it is neutrality. Everything is inherently neutral. It appears good. Maybe it's not. It appears bad. Maybe it's not. So everything's inherently neutral. Basic to its nature is neutrality. Mystics are also of two types. One will say there's no need to change the world, but there's a need to change oneself. So he also believes in changing the world through himself. But Tantra, and by the way, Tantra in this use is saying it's the sacred teachings. People think Tantra means sex. Tantra is basically the esoteric teaching, the hidden teaching, the hidden message, or the deeper message, the mystic message. So it says there's no need to change neither the world nor yourself. And I mention this because it's so popular in society now, this personal development, making yourself better. It aggrandizes the ego, right? It's an obsession with being better. I'm not good enough the way I am right now. And you see people lauding this, they're applauding this in the world because they're saying, no, you're not good enough. You still need to be better, right? And maybe there's an element of truth to that, but you can see how that would very easily get obsessed. When does that end? When are you good enough? Will you ever be good enough? Do you want to just accept that you're not good enough? Or do you want to take the opposite approach and say, I am good enough, and through the recognition that I'm good enough, I will become what I want to be and what I already am? And the way Alan Watts puts it is, maybe after 1,000,000 years of dreams, you would just dream that you are where you are now. When you're stuck here thinking, oh no, I want this and I want this and I want this and I want this. But have you ever noticed that when you get the thing that you think you want, you realize it really wasn't what you wanted? So you don't need to change the world. You don't need to change yourself. You just need to know that everything is changing and to float in that change and relax in the change. The moment there's no effort to create any change, you can totally relax, because if the effort is there, you cannot truly relax. The tension will be there because in the future, something of value is going to happen. The world is going to change. The world is going to become, let's say, communistic, or the earthly paradise is to come, or some utopia is in the future there, guiding you toward it, or enter the kingdom of God, which the Hindus call moksha. Somewhere in paradise, the angels are waiting. They're waiting to welcome you in. But that's somewhere. And it's in the future. And with this attitude, you'll be tense. So Tantra takes the approach of the opposite as we wrap up here. Around 20 minutes. I think I'm going to try to keep these at 20 minutes. What do you think? I hope that's a good amount of time. And I hope you get something, at least one interesting thing out of this to take into your life. So Tantra says, forget all of that. The world is already changing, and so are you. The existence itself is that change, that process, that changing process. So don't be worried about it. By the way, the German word, the worry, I always tell people, comes from the German word Werte, Würgen, which means strangle. It looks like Würgen, which means to strangle. So when you're worrying, you're strangling yourself. You're creating unnecessary tension. You're suffocating yourself. You're draining yourself of breath, of life, of respiration. It's always happening without you. It doesn't need you. So you just float in it with no anxiety for the future. And amidst this change, you will become aware of the center within you, which never changes, which has remained always as it is, which is always the same. So it's the sameness nested within change. Why does it happen? If you relax, the changing background gives you a beautiful contrast. And through that, you feel this non-changing element. If you're in this effort to change the world or to change yourself, you cannot look at the small, unmoving center within you. This is the Wu Wei. This is how you come upon effort without efforting. So example is, you're practicing a song. I was practicing a song, and you get this to, you're going to repeat it. You repeat it, you go up, you down, you go back, you do it over again, you listen, then you repeat, then you go back and you do it in a different way. You're instantiating effort through a naturally occurring process of change and development, rather than efforting the change. Okay, so you're so much obsessed with change that you're not able to have a look at what is the actual here and now case. And change is all around. The change is the background, the contrast. So you're here now, and this moment is all there is. Everything is changing. Suddenly you become aware of the point, which is never change. So again, his tantric message here, or his mantra, is through change, consume change. Through change, consume change. So he says, don't fight. Death gives life to deathlessness. Through death, you allow death to die. Don't fight with it. This tantra is kind of difficult to conceive of. It's something you could sit and meditate quietly on. Just say that over and over again in your brain. Through change, become change. Through change, you are change. You consume change through change. And so you can let this relax your mind, that your mind is there. It's simply an object of your awareness. So you're relaxing into what it is. You're not doing, you are relaxing. And this is the most hidden of secrets, is that if you can feel that you don't need to bother about anything else, if you can feel this relaxing, inaction, relax action, that's what I call it. Relaxation is relax action. If you feel this, you don't need to bother with anything else. This one technique can help with everything. Therefore, you don't need to do anything. Right now, I'm not doing anything, even though it seems like I'm doing something. The second I start feeling like I'm doing something and efforting something, that's the moment. And you can try this on things that you do feel like effort and see if you can get yourself to the point where it doesn't feel like effort. So through that process, you recognize the secret of change. And the change is consumed by your process of relaxation. And through this little death, the death even is consumed. The anger is consumed. And now you can know the secret is that through the poison can be consumed. And next up is the question about Tantra and love is, why is it that modern man and woman seem to have become incapable of love? All right. What a trickster this guy is. But I love it. Hopefully you got something out of that. And Jay Willow signing out for now on the NorthForm podcast. See you all soon. Bye-bye.